moving on here at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with a nifty 1967 Ford Mustang Convertible. Now we got to remember that, of course, the Mustang Convertible preceded the Mustang Fastback in 1965. The Fastback wouldn't arrive until about a half a year into production, so the hardtop and the convertible were the big two. But here's the deal. Convertibles actually outsold Fastbacks until 1967, when finally the Fastback sold about 75,000 units versus about 45,000 convertibles. So in 67 onward, the convertible was the rarest body style of all Mustangs. And again, about 45,000 of these 1967s were built in 1967. Now this one is not a Shelby GT350, rather it's been given a Shelby GT350 look, which is a compliment to the car in many ways. The American Racing torque thrust wheels all the way around, radial TA, BF Goodrich name brand radial tires, disc brakes up front, and the mighty GT350 nomenclature. And yes, you could get a GT350 convertible in 1967, but a real one is going to cost, a little bit more than this one. So this is kind of a fun tribute. Under the hood, let's have a peek. And here we see, this is a Ford 347 small block. We can see here it has trick flow aluminum heads, which are far superior to the factory iron heads. Larger ports, larger valves, more flow, more power. In fact, there are also valve cover spacers right here that move the cast aluminum rocker covers away from the valve train, another add-on there for higher RPM, power steering. And it's nice to see here that this has a big aluminum radiator with a pull-through electric fan, and a mechanical fan attached to this would draw 10 horsepower, so a little free horsepower thanks to the aluminum radiator and electric fan. Now, one thing we don't see under the hood of this Mustang are the massive shock or spring towers, these things that would live right here on both sides of the engine. That's because this one has been given a coil-over front suspension conversion with Mustang 2 rack and pinion type steering. So again, those are things that are classic on current or modern day Mustangs. And when you go to change spark plugs on this thing, you'll be glad that there are no longer spring towers to fight with. The sparks are right there, the spark plugs are right there. So that's good stuff. Headers, of course, the RPM air gap, intake manifold, dual plane, a small Holley 4-barrel. And when I say small Holley 4-barrel, we're talking probably 600 CFM, which is plenty. But again, you don't want to put an 800 on a 347. So this is nicely scienced out, great running package. Now behind that 347 is a 5-speed manual. This, of course, is the T5 heavy-duty transmission with an overdrive gear ratio, I think, of 0.65. So you get on the open road and your RPMs drop about 40%. And save fuel, noise, your hearing, and fuel if you should care. First gear is a 285, which is to say that it has good launch off the line, but the wonder of overdrive in 5th gear. So the best of both worlds, have your cake and eat it too. Aftermarket odometer gauges, tachometer and speedometer, and just a nice presentation inside. Now, as a GT350 tribute, it does have the side scoops here, which were certainly for cooling the brakes on the actual Shelbys, and they add, of course, the visual flair here. Again, we have the torque thrust at the back with name brand tires, and at the tail, yes, a Shelby-esque fiberglass deck lid with the built-in spoiler. And just like Shelby, the Mercury Cougar sequential taillights are in place and accounted for. And it's cool to see, of course, MagnaFlow exhaust tips on this one, and just a nice presentation. Let's take a peek inside the trunk and see how we're looking in there. Now this again is a pretty modern build, so this has things that didn't exist back in 1967, and that's cool. And those things include massive subwoofer speakers, an Alpine amp, and probably enough audio to curl your hair, as long as it's not being blown in the wind when the top is down. But just a nice tidy trunk, and you know, a nice one of 45,000 or so convertible Mustangs from '67, reimagined as a GT350 tribute, but with more power than a GT350 would have had. Again, that would have had a 289. This is a 347, and this is probably a darn close to 400 horsepower, which is about 25% more than a GT350, a real one, would have. And I always say that if the car is a clone and not a real one, the car doesn't know the difference. This is going to run better and harder than a real GT350. So you pick your poison and you pay your price. This, of course, is priced way more reasonably than an actual GT350, and you can drive this. That's the beauty of it. So to learn more about this car, you can check it out on the High-Octane Classics website. And keep in mind, this car can be purchased with as little as 10% down. You can finance it. And High-Octane Classics is located in Auburn, Massachusetts, but don't worry, they can ship it anywhere in the country or world. So you don't have to be in town to buy this car. And if you have a trade you want to consider, a late model, a custom, another Mustang, well, that's certainly possible. High-Octane Classics always considers trades. And keep in mind, too, that High-Octane Classics is always looking for qualified sales and service professionals. You can be a beginner or a seasoned veteran. If you have a work ethic, you might want to talk to the folks here at High-Octane Classics. And if you have 1 or 20 collector cars to sell, High-Octane Classics is buying. The number here is 508-859-4515. And once again, learn more about this '67 Mustang Convertible 347 5-speed manual GT350 Tribute. Check it out on the High-Octane Classics website. Mm-hmm.